The elders in my village always had one strict rule: never ever call out someone's name in a cremation ground. We always dismissed it as just another old wives' tale, a story meant to scare kids away from places they shouldn't be. A name is just a word, right? A collection of sounds. We were so wrong. You see, cremation grounds aren't empty. They're crowded, not with people, but with things that don't belong to the living world anymore. Shits, lingering regrets, and spirits that were forced from their bodies before they were ready. Occultists have a theory about these spirits. They say they all share a terrifying curse. They have lost their names. They are formless, nameless, and adrift. In a place like that, a name isn't just a word. It's a source of immense power, and that makes these lost souls desperate. It all became terrifyingly real one night. It was a new moon, the kind of darkness that swallows everything. There were no stars, no wind, just the eerie orange glow from the half-burnt funeral pyres and the thick, suffocating smell of ash hanging in the air. I was there with a friend, helping a distant relative with the last rites for a family member. It was a somber, quiet affair. When it was all over, we gathered our things to leave and realized one of the men from our village group, Ramesh, was missing. We weren't too worried. We figured he'd just wandered off for a moment. Without thinking, my friend cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted his name, Ramesh. The sound seemed to stretch, echoing for far too long in the dead silence. And then, nothing. Complete silence descended again. We waited a few moments, then my friend called out again, a little louder this time, Ramesh. This time a response came back almost instantly. I am right here. The voice was perfect. It was Ramesh's voice, down to the exact tone, the same pitch, the same slight rasp he always had. But the sound didn't come from the path or the entrance. It came from behind a row of smoldering pyres, from a place no living person could have been standing. Ancient occult scriptures talk about this. They say the spirits in cremation grounds are like shadows, drifting aimlessly without an identity to anchor them. They have fragmented memories of a life once lived, but no name to call their own. When they hear a living person's name spoken aloud in their domain, they latch onto it like a drowning man grabbing a rope. The moment a spirit answers to that name, something fundamental shifts in the fabric of reality. The spirit doesn't possess the person, it does something far worse. It replaces their identity. We finally found the real Ramesh just as the first light of dawn began to break through the darkness. He was huddled near an extinguished pyre, his knees pulled tightly to his chest, just staring blankly at the ash-covered ground. His clothes were filthy, smeared with soot and ash. His lips were moving, but he wasn't making any sound, just repeating the same silent word over and over. We rushed over and gently touched his shoulder. He looked up, his eyes were vacant, empty. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice a dry whisper. We told him his own name. We said, "You're Ramesh." A look of pure confusion twisted his face. "That's not mine," he whispered back. "That name belongs to someone else." By the next morning, Ramesh was a stranger to everyone, including himself. He couldn't recognize his wife or his children. He had no memory of his home, the village he'd lived in his entire life. He didn't even turn his head when we called his name. The doctors were baffled. They ran every test imaginable, but found nothing physically wrong with him. His body was perfectly healthy. His eyes could see. His brain showed no signs of injury or disease. But the person he was, his identity, was simply gone, wiped clean. The old folks in the village say his name is still out there, being used by something else, something that waits in the darkness of the cremation ground and answers when it's called. The elders believe that once a spirit takes your name, it doesn't just stay in the cremation ground, it follows you. It walks beside you in your own life. It sleeps in your bed. And it slowly, methodically, pushes you out of your own existence until you are nothing but an empty shell. That's why the rules for these places are so absolute, so critical. Do not speak unless you must. Do not call out anyone's name. And most importantly, do not respond if you hear your own name being called from the shadows. Because the thing that is calling you might not want your body, it wants your name, it wants your life. Even today, on quiet nights, when the wind is still, villagers living near the cremation ground sometimes hear a familiar voice calling softly from the darkness, "Come here, it's me." And those who are foolish enough to answer are always found the next morning, wandering aimlessly, alive, breathing, but utterly empty. Their bodies eventually find their way home. Their names never do. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.